Have you ever taken someone up on an offer of, well, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know, and if so, how did it end up? Years ago, when my dad died, his right-hand man at work offered to do anything to help us. We found out we had to move on 24 hours' notice, 400 miles away. Mom was too hesitant to ask. We didn't have any options on so little time. So I insisted she call him. He shows up, not 4 hours later, with literally everyone from his job site. With all their pickups, and a few small moving trucks/trailers. We vacated within 24 hours easily. I've completely lost touch with them, but I'll never forget them for doing that. It was completely surprising to me because that guy had complained about my dad quite a few times, but always helped him out, even when doing personal things for him on his off days. Why the F did you have 20 move in 24 hours? Basically, family wanted all of his possessions, which included furniture Mom and I bought with our money, and stuff that he specifically left her in the will. We didn't want that. Family lawyer said to vacate right after the funeral. We moved. Especially when they came a few days prior to the funeral and took his dog. I'll never forgive them for that. What vindictive little craps. I had a similar experience, except they didn't notify us or ask, just started rolling crap out of the garage when we weren't home. Luckily another relative was there and stopped them. Still, we lost a ton of small items in the hectic days between the death and the burial. CDs and books that we haven't seen since, along with some other crap. Then later had an issue with my mom's dad's death and lawyers involved. Even family can be really goddamned crafty, and I urge everyone to get a will that specifies everything down to the letter. It can be anything when a person dies. I know of one situation where my friend and her boyfriend were renting an apartment, but the boyfriend was the only one on the lease. He passed away and she got kicked out since she technically wasn't marked down as living in that apartment. She was considered a squatter. A relative of an acquaintance needed help recovering family photos from a broken PC. I was just going to do a quick repair and bill the guy, but I felt really bad for him, so I took the extra time to consult him about backing up data and suggested an external drive. We found one for him, but he was waffling on the price, so I cut his bill down a bit and told him to just order it while I was there. At that point I think he realized I wasn't benefiting from any further contact, and he offered to help me out if I ever needed a hand with anything electrical, as he was a retired electrician. Short version is I had some light switches that when flicked would flicker several other rooms nearby lights. I asked this guy if he could just come assess what I needed and what it should cost for me whenever he had time. He came over for about 30 minutes, tinkered with the wall plates and said I don't know, then went home having repaid his blood debt. The end made me laugh. Didn't expect that, laughing my butt off. What kind of electrician says I don't know on an electrical issue? Retired electrician here. We often don't know, we just start trying stuff until stuff works again. Current electrician here. Sounds like he has all the lights in the house on the same neutral wire. You're right though, I can't know for sure unless I'm there with open boxes. I'm typing this out while in a crawl space. Nobody retired ever misses the work, haha. This one actually made me laugh. If there is anything I can do to return the favor, let me know. My wife and I moved into a new apartment when she was about 6 months pregnant, having shared a fully furnished house with her brother and his wife before this. We had all the usual help from friends and family lugging all of our stuff up 2 flights of stairs, and we had managed to set up essentials like a couple of camping chairs and a bed on the first day. They left us to ourselves to finish the remainder of the unpacking, and we had almost no food and no proper furniture, so I had plans for massive shopping trips to stock our kitchen and new living space in the coming days. The next day, while I worked unpacking and reorganizing our new space, my wife came out of the bathroom totally pale and said we need to go now. She was bleeding substantially, and the doctor confirmed she was already significantly dilated, and the baby was coming whether we were ready or not. I sent a panicked message to a friend who had a preemie herself a few months before this, and she spent the remainder of her night talking through what we could expect and providing a listening ear for anything we didn't understand from the doctor or what NICU we should ask to go to in the area. She was incredibly helpful, but we ultimately found out our baby couldn't be stabilized after birth and we lost her that night. That same friend offered her condolences and offered anything she could do to help, as she knew we had just moved. When I asked her to pick up some basic essentials like bread and cold cuts to handle meals for the next couple days, she instead asked for my full grocery list. It included things like furniture I planned to pick up and the ice cube trays our new freezer was missing, but I assumed she'd only be getting the food I mentioned. The next morning, when my wife was released and we went home to a quiet apartment full of boxes, without so much as working internet and/or cell service, our friend showed up on her lunch break from work with a full car. Bags were literally tumbling out of her backseat when she opened the door. She purchased everything on our list, from the food to the ice cube trays to a coffee table I had been looking at. She threw in extra stuff that she knew we'd need too, like fresh fruits and vegetables so we didn't feel the need to eat like crap in the midst of our morning. She didn't want me to find out, but she forgot the receipt in one of the bags and I saw that she spent hundreds of dollars on everything. We were completely overcome by her actions. I managed to wait until after she left, but I absolutely sobbed. I had never seen such generosity from a friend, and she would hardly let us say anything more than a simple thank you. To this day, I have never felt such appreciation and compassion from another person, and I carry that gratefulness with me anytime I find myself depressed about everything else that happened during that time. Edit. Wow. Thank you everyone for your kind words and awards. I just ask, in honor of our baby girl and our dear friend, that you share her kindness with someone in need in your life. I'm so sorry for your loss, Op. I don't have any children myself, but I honestly can't imagine what you and your wife had went through. I'm so glad that you had a friend to help you during those times, and I'm so glad that she went above and beyond to help you guys out, and she is a true friend. The strange thing to me was that before this we were never the closest of friends, just friendly from time together in school. She was a mental lighthouse for me though, because she understood all the fear and anxiety that comes with a premature birth. While we sat and played the waiting game, I had a focal point to avoid letting my mind race more than it already was. I just hope she understands how eternally grateful I am for her. Tell her, let her know you are eternally grateful, and look for opportunities to provide support for others in need. That's exactly how she responds anytime I mention it. Totally humble and just wants more love in the world, especially for people who have gone through something similar. Wow, this made me cry. What an amazing person. It still makes me tear up thinking about it all this time later. It stands out as one of my strongest memories from that time, even amongst all the traumatic experiences. This is a reverse story. Someone on Facebook was trying to get out of an abusive relationship. She had left the person many times only to come back to the person. I knew the person from years before, but I really only knew her through a friend. I had seen the person in real life maybe twice. I gave the offer if there is anything I can do for you in a Facebook message. To my surprise, she said, yes, can I stay with you for a few months? I said sure, since I had the spare room, and my friend that was close friends with her said she was a good person. I let her into my home for 4 months. In that time she had a friend come over for her birthday, and little did I know I would be meeting my future wife and life mate. We have now been together for 8 years with our love going strong. So my offer really paid off in my case, despite the fact I was really scared to have this relative stranger move into my spare bedroom. My friend was right. She is a good person. Unfortunately, she did move back in with the abusive boyfriend for about a year until another situation broke out and she moved out permanently. She is now in a new relationship in a different part of the country with someone else and has been for many years now. Someone who is not abusive. So hooray for both of us. I'm happy to read this. It is crazy for us to all too thin about our life choices and how they've led us to where we are now. The circumstances around meeting our significant others being a big one. Good deed paid off in this scenario for you, friend. Shame she moved back with the abuser, but glad she got out, and kudos for you for helping like that. A relative of mine had passed away, leaving me the entire estate. Part of that was a boat. When I was at the house sorting things out, a neighbor came over and introduced himself. I hadn't met him before, as he had just moved in a year earlier. At one point, we ended up talking that boat. As we were talking, he said he had to get back to the wife and to let him know if there was anything he could do. Jokingly, I asked him if he wanted to buy the boat and gave him a price. He sort of laughed, as most people would do. About an hour later, he sent me a text asking if I was serious about selling the boat. When he left, he went straight home and asked his wife and then went to the bank to get the money. I said yes, and he had the money to me that evening and took possession of the boat. Edit. Thanks everybody for the awards. Edit. I will add some additional info, since there were a lot of the same questions. The boat was a higher-end base boat. I knew the price of it when it was purchased and what it was worth when I sold it. The neighbor had seen it many times and also knew the condition. I sold the boat for a little less than what it worth, so I would make sure that he would consider it for that price and hopefully buy it. He did. Haha. There is a lake nearby the house that hosts all kinds of Basemaster events, so there are quite a few base boats for sale in the area. If I had the time I would have priced it normally and let it sit on the market for a while. I am happy that I sold it for less though. It went to a great family and they saved some cash on it. They still have it in the boathouse and still use it today. Haha, I had the story from the other side. When I moved into my first apartment I was totally broke, so I picked through thrown out furniture at the back. Lots of people just left semi-broken things when they moved, and it was easy enough to fix. One day I'm taking a decent microwave, and a moving car backs in. It turns out the microwave belonged to the guy. I apologized, but he said I could keep it. He even asked if I wanted any of his other stuff. I jokingly asked for the couch strapped to his roof. I had that couch for 5 years. The couch strapped to his roof. I can only imagine where else he placed curious things. Wine collection? Under the hood. Important documents? Sewn into his jacket. On the outside. Dude carried his Warhammer collection in a bucket. So you got to experience the 2 best days of boat ownership on the same day? BOAT bust out another 1,000. Man, you just took me back to my younger years working at West Marine and all the cheesy boat jokes that go with it. Thank you for the early morning smile. They aren't jokes. Well, except on the boat owner if they aren't fabulously wealthy. I keep wanting to buy a boat but I'm worried it'll be more expensive to not use it than use it. We get maybe 4 months of boating weather and I don't have a garage to store it in. Not sure I'd want a garage full of useless boat even if I did. I think a kayak with a cordless drill-powered prop would end up serving my needs anyway. My parents own a pontoon-type boat, Canadian, and they use it daily from April-ish to late October-ish. They live in the Muskoka area. If you don't live on a lake and won't use it every day. I mean I wouldn't for 4 months of boating time. It's expensive as hell. Boat, noun, hole in the water into which you pour large sums of money. When you get it and when you get rid of it? The only thing better than owning a boat is having a friend who owns a boat. I will never own a boat, but I am the ideal person to invite on your boat. I know how to back a trailer in, I will gladly pay for the gas, and I will bring a cooler stocked with beer. Just give me a time and I'll be there. I have a somewhat similar story. My neighbors have called the cops a bunch of times about us having a trailer with an excavator parked in our yard. If you're curious, check my post history. Well, a couple months ago, on a Friday, I found out I owed $1,800 to something, because MoneyGram sucks, and I had no clue how I was going to come up with it over the weekend. My so had parked his work van where we usually put the trailer and my butthole neighbors called the cops and said it was abandoned. The chief of police came out and he's awesome. He's in his 70s and I've known him for over a decade. I had a Thunderbird that he always asked me if I wanted to sell it and I would always give him a very unreasonable price. We'd laugh, and that was it. This time when he asked I gave him a very reasonable price and he said I'll be up tomorrow to get it. So that's the story of how my butthole neighbors actually helped me out by calling the cops on me. Holy crap, that's amazing. This has been the best trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. Win-win, sweet. When he left, he didn't ask his wife, but instead packed his bags preparing to live on the boat in case the wife didn't think the purchase was a good idea. He was later found on an island talking to his best friend, a volleyball. Here we are living in 2020, this dude's living that 2019 life. Win-win. Sweet. One time my dad told me to change this light bulb in my house and it was pretty high up and I definitely needed some help so I wouldn't fall to my death. Well, these Jehovah's Witness guys knock on my door, give their pitch and then they end it with thanks for talking to us, is there anything that we can help you with? So I asked, actually, would you guys mind helping me change a light bulb? And they were more than happy to help me out. Super nice guys. How many Jehovah's Witnesses did it take to change that light bulb? 3. They converted original post after all. I guess you could say, original post saw the light after they left? Well, at least he was illumined. This one time myself and my younger brother were doing the mowing when we were both teens. 2 Mormons came up to us and gave their usual spiel. Of course we declined, but they did the same thing. You brothers need any help with that? You fellas got a pretty big yard eye? Kiwi boys, imagine Korg from Ragnarok speaking, and that's what they sounded like. Sure as crap, Mum and Dad arrived home and there we were, me, my brother and 2 massive Kiwi blokes in their full white dress shirt and slacks mowing, weeding and hedging all together. There was a big please explain from my parents. But we gave them afternoon tea afterwards to say thanks. Grew up Mormon, and most missionaries would love to stop going door to door to help some people with stuff. They get a break from the monotonous routine and hopefully paint a better picture of their church in others' eyes. Even if not, they probably enjoyed the break. You know it's bad when doing someone else's garden is considered a break. Honestly, gardening would be a nice change of pace from a lot of people's jobs though. Depends on how intensive the gardening is though. Gardening can suck. Had a depressive episode at the beginning of the pandemic, decided I hated my desk job and so I did a trial shift as a gardener for 2 days. Decided I definitely don't want to be a gardener. But, the fresh air and physical activity felt great and it snapped me out of my depression a bit. I love gardening, because you are really in the moment as you're doing it. The physical activity, and being around nature, is a very zen thing for me, and a big stress reliever, as your mind tends to be on the task in the garden, and not wandering around the stressful things in your life. Glad you're better. Glad to hear you're doing a bit better. Edit. Everyone was nice enough to not point out my typo, but I found it lol. Hope you're doing well, mate. Can confirm. Would love to take a couple of hours off work to go spruce up my garden. I can see it calling me from my window, but alas, so close, but so far away. Lots of people love gardening. My grandmother kept a garden until the day she died. There is something satisfying about growing something. That's so wholesome. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.